don't know if Greg is just trolling or just hungry for views or attention, but for the sake of this video, I'm going to be treating it as if it were real. I think the natural community was just so desperate for someone to pop out with an amazing physique in such a short time frame that even against bear judgment, we wanted it to be true. I mean, I also wanted it to be true, but given all the information, I just couldn't wrap my head around it. In a day where every other influencer is juicing to the max, it can be hard to tell whether someone's really natural or if they're just faking it. I want to go into my criteria for determining if someone is on steroids or not. Now, I want to start off by saying there's no way to know with 100% certainty whether someone's on steroids or not, unless there's photos of them pinning or they're open about it. There are several factors to consider when determining if someone is natural. There's not one key indicator, so many aspects need to be considered. When enough of these factors point towards the fact that they're not natural, we can say with greater certainty that they're probably on steroids. So, even if someone goes against the norms for one aspect, that doesn't automatically place them in the steroid category. They need to defy multiple norms to be considered on steroids. This will not be every single aspect I look into, but just the big five. I also won't be including blood work because it's very complex and this video being an hour long, but also there's many runarounds to making your blood work look like you're natural, so yeah. Number one is time frame and rate of progression. Building muscle outside the first year of training is extremely slow. Now, the amount of muscle someone can build and how fast they can build it is largely determined on genetics. For the most part, most natural lifters fall into this category for rate of muscle growth. When someone puts on a large amount of muscles very fast outside of their first year of training, it can become a little suspicious. This is honestly the biggest aspect I look at because it's very telling. Number two is preciseness in dieting and training. If someone has an elite level top 1% of physiques, especially as a natural, it's highly unlikely that that physique just dropped right into their hands. If someone doesn't have a dialed in dieting and lifting protocol, it becomes highly suspicious. For a natural to have an elite physique, so many things have to be aligned even to make slight progress. They can't be trying new fads, program hopping, not tracking, not training hard, and just following basic principles. Number three is the level of leanness during mass gaining phases. For someone to put on muscle as a natural, bulking is a must. So if someone is able to put on 30 pounds of lean tissue while maintaining 10% body fat, it becomes highly suspicious. Fat gain is almost inevitable during bulking phases for naturals. However, steroid users can get away with being leaner while putting on mass. Again, so many things have to be right for a natural to put on muscle, so if they're not in the ideal bulked up phase and they put on a whole bunch of muscle, it definitely raises some questions. Number four is the person's FFMI. I really don't want to talk about this one too much because Jeff Nipper did a super in-depth video and I'll link it down in the description. But essentially it's a scale based off height, body fat, and lean mass. For 98% of people, I'd say maybe even 99%, if you're a natural, having an FFMI over 25 is extremely unlikely. Now, of course, it is possible, and there are some outliers of naturals who achieved over a FFMI of 25, but for the vast majority of people, this is not possible natural. Number five is external factors. This factor comes into play when at least two of the other indicators are pointing towards steroids. It helps explain the why. For example, if they sell coaching or compete in bodybuilding, the pressure to use steroids skyrockets. A jacked physique means more followers, more views, more likes, and essentially more money. That being said, this factor only applies when combined with the others. Simply posting fitness content or having a social media account or competing in bodybuilding does not automatically mean you're taking steroids. It just gives context if the other indicators are pointing towards steroids. I do want to point out the opposite end of outliers. Someone cannot deviate from any of these standards and yet still be on steroids. Not everybody responds the same to steroids. There are people who look like novices and are running a crap ton of gear. So one might ask, why are they taking steroids for a natural physique and yet the steroid-like health? I have no idea. Now, I don't want to talk about this crazy because there's been so many other videos on it, but I do want to say I see a lot of people criticizing Jeff. However, I truly believe he was being genuine. Some people are saying that he was paid off to do this, and I just find that highly unlikely considering how much money he makes and how much money he makes off of his reputation. For him to put that much risk on his reputation on something that he knew was a lie and people were already starting to think it was a lie would not be very smart. Now, I will say it was a little naive to have that much faith in Hussein. He had an elite level physique in a super short time frame from an awful starting point and is so blatantly driven by social media and money that the stars were aligned for him to take steroids. Jeffrey Verity Schofield already made an amazing video on this. Basically how Hussein started a coaching business within 1 or 2 years of lifting and his reuse and laziness of his content.
Business going bro. Look at the picture. Here's July 26th, July 20th, July 16th, July 4th, June 22nd, June 2nd, May 23rd, May 1st, April 26th, April 19th, April 7th, April 2nd, March 28th, March 12th.
So Jeff Nippard kind of turned a blind eye to all these other factors. But again, given all the information on Jeff and his character and his reputation and his contribution to the natural lifting community, I highly doubt this was purposeful. At the end of the day, I cannot stress this enough, you have to look at the whole picture. One crazy looking body part does not mean that the person's not natural. You have to look at their entire lifting journey. Breaking just one of these factors isn't enough to call them out. But if someone blew up super fast while maintaining a super low body fat, while having awful training and dieting principles, and has an FFMI over 25, and sells coaching or competes in bodybuilding, well, then you can pretty confidently lean towards the not natty side. Thanks for watching. Again, this wasn't all the factors, so if you have any of your own, please leave them in the comments. I'd love to hear your take. See you guys next time.